Alright, so welcome back, everybody. I realized, as I said, that it was 6/20, June 20th, that I couldn't just not talk about Phish's 2.0 run, the 6/19/04, 6/20/04 Saratoga run. So again, this is John with the Curtins For You Podcast. I felt like I couldn't not come back on and share a little bit about some Phish 2.0. The SPAC shows were unbelievable. I don't know if anyone's listened to those. 6/19, like I said, 2004, 6/20, 2004. Both shows have just absolutely ridiculous highlights from the 6/19 Piper with the Twee Prize teases, and 6/20 the next night you get a four song second set with a twist that is my favorite twist of all time. 2.0 Phish I think is pretty interesting. You take a look at the tours, you take a look at the shows. If you've listened to them all, they're really good shows and they're really bad shows. I know a lot of people, refer to 2.0 as the Oxy years, or really they write off Phish, 2.0 as being no good. And I think it's just a huge mistake. You've got this SPAC run, this 6/19, 6/20. I mean, right before that you had Live in Brooklyn, which was absurd. The Mama Dance Free is one of my favorite jams of all time, and I have to say that on 6/18, the second night in Brooklyn, when Jay-Z came out, seeing a lot of Wooks singing along to a Jay-Z song was pretty wild. I know they released that as a DVD, so I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it. There's that Susie Greenberg first night that also was just a monster. Those were really good 4 shows, the Brooklyn, the Saratoga shows. But I'm going to tune it back a little bit. So my first Phish show was 2/28/03, Nassau Coliseum. That's the Destiny Unbound show. That is the show with the best Back on the Train of all time, and in my opinion, the show with the best tweezer of all time. Not to mention, we heard Sleep, and we got just a really great encore of Mexican Cousin and Contact. Mexican Cousin is one of those songs that I think a lot of people really didn't like, but I love it. And it's grown on me too. I wish they'd play it more, but I think it's a fun tune. And then Contact, of course, is just awesome. But yeah, so that was my first Phish show. So I started seeing Phish with 2.0. And I think it's important to look at that period of music, not write it off, and take a look at some of the really awesome shows that you had. You had the Anniversary show in Boston with the video during set break. I mean, that was a great show. You had even the Alpine Boogie On from right before Coventry is just absurdly good. Also, there's It. It was one of the best festivals Phish ever put on, in my opinion. The Tower Jam's fantastic. The Chalk Dust from that's fantastic. The Ghost from that, I mean, I think that Ghost, challenges Prague Ghost, or the Denver Ghost in '97. I think that's one of the best Ghosts of all time, and the Chalk Dust was just bonkers. I mean, the Mango song encore, unbelievable. That was a really good time for Phish, I think, actually, that summer, when we culminated with It. I think after It, things got a little bit darker. I recall, reading some interviews about how that summer tour was in '03, and everyone seemed to be doing really well. People seemed to be healthy. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've read, at least somewhere. I can't remember where. But, as you look at '02, kind of really '03 and '04, there really just a lot of good jams. I will give you that the composed sections of songs were flubbed a lot. Trey couldn't hit the right notes, but Trey was also in a place where he was creating some really dark, melodic, thematic jams that were really, really cool and really unique, especially when you compare them to other Phish jams, other Phish shows. The jams were grittier. Trey was, I think, using some different effects during that time, using a different pedal during that time. I know, as a member of Fantasy Tour, we ended up buying him a pedal at one point, but I believe he was using different pedals, during '03 and '04 that kind of give you that grittier tone, which I really, really like. Another couple shows that I wanted to mention were the Cincinnati shows. I forget the date on that, but there's a bathtub gin from one of those shows in Cincinnati that's really phenomenal. Deer Creek, too, it has a bunch of highlights. I don't have this set list in front of me. If you want, I could pull them up. See what the Phish 2003 and 2004 set lists look like. But I really thought there were a lot of really good highlights. And then you have Coventry. Coventry was the worst festival I've been to. It felt like attending a funeral. There was so much mud. I'm not sure I've ever seen any mud like that. I had my shoes sucked clean off in the mud, had to pull them out, fucking walking miles to get into Coventry. It was just it was a really crazy time. It was, like I said, it's a bizarre experience, almost like a funeral, except sadder, because you just watching, your favorite band, one of your favorite bands, a really talented band, just collapse pretty much on stage. The page during Waiting, that's incredibly emotional. I think that gives you an idea of kind of how the band felt and how we all felt at that time. I don't know how many of you went to Coventry that listen to this podcast. I don't know how many of you would remember this if you did, but at one point there was a balloon tornado at Coventry. I think, I don't know if it was just the way the wind was circling around the hill in Coventry, Vermont, but there was a balloon tornado. Literally, all these balloons got sucked up into a spiral. I've talked to some people who have seen it, and I've always wondered if other people had as well. So I figure this is probably the best way to reach the most people. Have you seen, or did you see, the Coventry balloon tornado? I've always wanted to ask a lot of people that question, so think about it, and if you were there, see if you can remember seeing that, because I thought it was pretty crazy. Anyway, I hopped back on because, like I said, when I noticed the date, I said there's no way that I cannot hop on and talk about the reunion for the Saratoga shows. It's pretty crazy that it's been years and years now since that show. We're almost at 20 years, and it still holds up. It's still one of the best shows I've seen, and was also a really special experience. I went with some very good friends of mine, some very good Teds. Jeff was there, Zach was there, Nate was there, Ryan was there. Rest in peace. We love you. and we miss you. But we all went together. We stayed in a haunted hotel in Saratoga that had a lot of mirrors. I think anyone that knows, mirrors are no good, especially after a Phish show. So that was definitely a pretty wild experience. But I remember sitting in this haunted hotel after 6:20 and being like, man, that Twist is one of the best jams that I have ever heard, and talking a lot about the Piper from the first night too. And I think for some of my friends that caught Phish a little later, they appreciate the 2.0 jams a little more than my friends that saw 1.0 Phish. A lot of my friends that saw 1.0 tend to skip 2.0, or if they don't skip it entirely, they kind of write it off or say there are a couple of good jams. But you look at it, you look at, I said my first show, 22803, you look at those Cincinnati shows, you look at the Boston Anniversary show, you look at some of the shows in Worcester. I mean, they were playing really good improv, and there are definitely some shows that were off. I remember there was a show in North Carolina where Mike was sick, and that show wasn't so great. And I think we can all acknowledge Miami '03, even though it had some really, really good jams, it was also pretty messy. But still a really awesome time. I think Phish fans maybe need to go back and re-listen and try to appreciate some of the quality music they were putting out. And I think it's important to acknowledge, the band was not healthy. And as a fan, I'm not happy. I was not happy about that at the time. I don't think anyone was happy about that, even though, there were some really cool exploratory jams coming out. I can say for certain that I'm much happier the band's, and, Trey is healthy now, and we get the music that we do versus, 2.0 with the band being unhealthy and the backstage being pretty toxic and pretty wild. But I felt it was important to hop on and just give some props to 2.0 Phish. This is going to be a mini pod again. I'm not going to, ramble on too long about 2.0 Phish. What I'm just going to say is, listen to it. Listen to the shows. There's some real good shows. And, you're just, you're screwing yourself if you don't listen. So, my recommendation is listen to some of the jams I've been talking about. Do your own research. Find some stuff you like. I mean, the Post Gazette show in 03 in July with Harpua. I mean, that was a great show. You got Daniels of the Stone. You got a really good, I believe, Cross-Eyed and Painless jam in there. There's some really, really quality music. So don't screw yourself by just not listening. So I just wanted to hop back on and give props to the anniversary of those Phish 2004 Saratoga shows, because those were unbelievable. The Brooklyn shows deserve a shout out. Lot of really good stuff. But listen to the music. Don't just write it off, because it's good. There's some quality stuff. And you'd be crazy not to listen and see what you think. Anyway, I'm John, Curtins For You Podcast. Just a little ramble about Phish. Hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to be on with some guests soon that I'm really excited to have. We're going to talk more about music. We got a lot of music really to talk about. I want to talk about Billy Strings. I want to talk about Dead & Co. I want to talk about John Mayer. I want to touch on a lot of different things that have been going on in the live music world over, the past 18 months with COVID going on and all that stuff. There's some hidden gems there, and there's some real good music that